I'm with John from Where Is She Now. Thank you very much for joining us, John.
My pleasure, Steve. Thanks for thinking of us.
And congratulations with your nominations for Where Is She Now.
Thank you.
It's this is quite unusual. This film. I mean, I know deliberately so, and it's probably best if you try and explain the premise behind this story and why you came to make it, because it does go back quite a time, I believe, doesn't it?
Well, I was a teacher for 36 years, teacher of acting, filmmaking, and all that at the New York Film Academy at UCLA. And when I retired, my dream was to go around the world and visit my students, because I have about 2,000 students throughout the world, but most of them are in Europe. So I decided to go to 7 countries and visit my students and sort of do a documentary on where are they now. And what I found disparaging is that aside from London, most cities and countries I went to, they don't have a film industry. Mm. They don't have an industry for actors. So all these students with master's degrees and bachelor's degrees didn't have any place to go with their skills. So I realized, we can't just do a documentary. We have to do a movie that is more theatrical. And what provided the opportunity was the fact that one of my students, Marita, disappeared the night before her graduation. She didn't pick up her degree, she didn't pick up her diploma, she didn't see her final film screened at Warner Brothers. She just disappeared. And so as I got on the road and started talking to my students, they would say, well, did everyone respond? I said, well, everyone but Marita, but I expect to hear from her. And then they start volunteering information about Marita and stories, and no 2 stories agreed with one another. Now, that's strange. So my quest sort of turned away from just doing a film on interviews to finding her. So I went to Norway to find her. She wasn't there. We found a postcard from her. We followed where the postcard was from, then the postmark where that was from, and just kept going. And it just opened a world of mystery in the quest to find Marita. And
hence the title.
Hence the title.
So is it? How would you define this? Is it a documentary, a mockumentary?
Well, that's the thing. You can't throw yourself into the world of Christopher Guest, which is all improv and comedy improv at that. And it isn't even by plot beats. But what I call it is a docu-mystery.
Docu-mystery, right, okay.
Sort of a new hybrid, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
It is, yeah.
Because it starts out as a straightforward doc, but then when the issue of Marita came along, suddenly it becomes a personal quest. Like you're interviewing me now, and your intention is that I'm just going to give you straightforward answers, right? But if I'm suddenly not there, or the subject turns to something completely different, as a documentarian, as a filmmaker, you have to follow the information. You have to, even as a journalist, you have to follow the story. And this story took us to strange territory. We followed her to Salzburg, to Vienna, to Stuttgart during the Volksfest there, 125,000 drunken Germans, and we're trying to find her amid the crowd.
Respect.
Yeah, and then it finally wound up in Amsterdam, as all mystery movies must end up.
Yeah, I've been to Amsterdam.
In the red light district of Amsterdam.
Yeah, I've been to Amsterdam.
And it becomes, from a very light-hearted film to a very dark movie.
And I think here you're being careful not to give away what the net result is.
Well, what I expect you to ask me is, so do you ever find her?
Well, I'm deliberately avoiding that because I think you're going to say you need to watch the film. Am I right or wrong?
That's a good idea. Maybe they should watch the film. Yes, you should watch the film.
So as you start this as a documentary, but it morphs into so much more.
Yeah.
So does that mean where you would traditionally, start from a film report, making a fiction where you would traditionally have, shall we say, a script to begin with. So this is neither that nor a documentary. So how did you merge the two? Because I'm guessing as time, let's for instance say you're in, I don't know, Salzburg, yeah, and then something might happen and then you have to adjust what you're doing. But did you actually have a real script to work with? I mean, you couldn't have had a script. I guess you haven't got a script. Or did you?
Well, we are nominated for Best Screenplay, so I should say yes.
Well, I know, but what I'm getting at is,
I know.
You know what I mean, don't you? Because it's
you.
such an unusual, way of making a film.
Yes, it is.
I suppose what I'm asking badly is, I can't quite get my head around how you can have a script for something that can just change overnight.
Well, I think it takes on some of the rules of reality television.
Yeah.
In that you have plot beats, and you hope that these beats will adhere to a certain direction it's taking.
Mm.
But if you think of it as not having a destination but a journey, doesn't matter if you find her or not. You could find her in the sequel or in the next sequel, you know. So I think if you stay true to the rules of the environment, and the sort of the rules have been created for this new hybrid of a docu-mystery, is you want to, for the first half of the film, is interviews with students telling their real true stories and heart-rending stories.
Yeah, exactly. So you're sort of making a fictional film at the same time making a real documentary, but obviously with a film, it's you have this. You know, it might be storyboarded, you may not be, but you have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes, yes.
But I suppose what's amazing is you can't really have had that because you never knew what the ending would be.
You have a lot of options.
Yeah, right.
And you hope that the ending will work. No, we did have it. We did have it scripted, but we had to allow for a lot of improv and a lot of latitude in the scripting. So a lot of things changed. That's why you use improvisational base. And the best way I can describe it is people in imaginary circumstances.
Right, okay.
So if I'm talking to you and you're in it with me, then you're Steve and I'm John Henry.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the minute I call you Steve and you call me John Henry, there is a reality to it. I'm not going to affect a characterization. I'm not going to become something that I'm not. Everyone is very real.
And could you see yourself doing something like this again? Now you've done it, you know, rather than a set documentary or set piece of fiction.
Yes.
Could you see yourself doing a hybrid? Did you enjoy doing a hybrid?
I love it, and I want to keep doing this. I want to see where it can go. It's not enough just to have done one. Also, the story leads with a lot of questions. It ends with a lot of question marks. It's a cliffhanger ending. And it naturally leads you to part two because it ends in a violent crime. And many people are responsible for that crime.
And was the intention to have a cliffhanger or to have the possibility of a sequel? Or did it just pan out that way in the end and then actually, the way this is finishing now, we could quite easily make a sequel to this film?
Right. Well, quite honestly, I wanted to have a sequel using the same... And I wanted to create an ensemble of performers.
Right.
Which is so popular here. A repertory theater company for film.
Yeah.
So you might be a villain in this first one, then you'll be the protagonist in the next one, or the catalyst in the next one. So the idea is to be able to continue to use the same people, and then when you see them in the next film, they're a complete different character.
Or something like the Mercury Theatre, it's Orson Welles. And that's
very much like the Mercury Theatre, and very much, as I say, Christopher Guest. He uses all the same people. He uses masters of comic improv, so his films don't get as dramatic. But this has the latitude of being all things, you know, and being an international blend. It lends an incredible flavor because I have 2,000 students everywhere, and so the next story will take us to India, to China, to Istanbul, and more to the Eastern Europe, more to the darker imagery and atmosphere, which is where we want to go.
The heart of darkness.
Yeah, a bit of that. We really are going up a river with the intention of finding, Major Kurtz, and we don't know what we're going to find when we get there.
Joseph Conrad's sitting there writing his next book or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of Conrad to that, I think. But there's also sort of an O. Henry quality to it, in that there are all these little individual stories that all culminate in this one main story, which is wonderful. If you have an anthology series, for instance, where it's a series of short films, but all those films meet in the middle, and all the characters from those films meet in the middle, it becomes another film then. And to me, that's fascinating. It's hard to sidestep the trap of predictability in film, but we have to try. So when someone says, "What's the genre?" It's horror. It's
Comedy, rom-com,
so it's it's a vampire or a zombie or a werewolf. No, I thought the film that came out a few years ago, "Let the Right One In."
Oh yes,
Sweden.
The original version.
Yes, it kind of reworked the genre a bit, and we have to keep reinventing genres and adding new genres. And now more than ever, with the advent of reality TV and the audience eavesdropping on people's personal lives, if you can take that and make that a theatrical opportunity other than a Kardashian opportunity, wow, you're wide open.
And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you're obviously very experienced. I mean, this is your background. I mean, you in every sort of facet. When after you finish making this, what was the thing you discovered that you never knew with all that experience that you had before that you came across? Is there anything you put your finger on?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. I think what you have to really observe by the end of it is that once a movie takes on its own life, you can't struggle to try to rot it back into your vision. It becomes the audience's vision almost. The audience becomes a participant in the creation of your vision.
And was that something you weren't expecting?
It was a bonus. It was a bonus. You want to shake it up. You want to surprise people a bit.
Yeah.
You want to shock them a little bit before it starts and have it not be so predictable. For instance, most scenes we had multiple takes, but they were never as good as the first one. Because what happens after the first take is you try to recreate that energy, and then it's false. It's not a template anymore. The idea is to create the template, then smash it, and move on to the next one.
Oh, it sounds absolutely fascinating. And it sounds to me as though there is an expansion upon this. I want to avoid using the word genre because I'm not a particular fan of that. Of a new, perhaps, style of filmmaking because, like I said, it's not something I've really come across before. Yeah. Because it all seems to get back to this point of when you retired, you had this intention to track down all these people, see what's going, but then it morphed into something else. Yeah. So and this girl that was missing from the very start. Yes. Did it start with you? Oh, she's missing. I'll just see what happens. Or did it just suddenly snowballed and then you're suddenly thinking, hang on, this is what's happening here?
Yeah, I expected to hear from her because I sent emails out to all my students, called all my students, and heard back from all of them but her, because we had to arrange interviews and all that. Yeah. We had to have a structured system because we 7 countries in 4 weeks. It was a brutal shoot.
Yeah, that's on average 2 a week, isn't it?
And so much of it was travel.
Yeah.
From London to Stockholm, to Oslo, to Salzburg, to Vienna, to Stuttgart, to Amsterdam, and then back to the USA. Some of it was shot in Los Angeles. And so you had to be ready for whatever the changes would be.
And what was your favourite part about making this whole adventure?
My very favourite part was being able to see students that I had worked with and taught on-camera technique to adhere to it and remember it years later. Because some of my students were 10 years ago. And if you're living in Helsinki and you're not getting any film work, and then suddenly you're working with your mentor, your teacher again, and you still have the technique, it was a great honor.
And it must have been wonderful to catch up with all these students, whatever their story was, many years later, because I think you alluded to it, fantastic, heartbreaking stories, and to sort of remember back to being that wet behind the ears student, for want of a better way to describe it. And now they're adults and moved on and had babies and new life. But catching up with that must have been exhilarating.
Oh, it's wonderful. And you know what I really love is that they're all real people. They don't have the baggage of stardom. They don't have the ego of that. They don't have agents and managers and all that stuff. They're just real people who just want to work. And so God bless them. They go back to their countries and they do theater. So they still stay in it. It's an odd thing. And some of the students were saying in the interview, they'd say that, I wanted to go to Los Angeles, and I wanted to study film acting, and I did it. And I wanted to be on film, and I did it. I wanted to learn the craft of acting, and I did it. So I'm not a failure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
I decided that retirement sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the world, maybe visit my old students, thinking about maybe making a documentary.
Of the 30 students we contacted, I've heard from all of them apart from one.
Who not?
Marita?
Hi, John.
Let's go make a movie.
We don't want to blow our own trumpets, but it's been going pretty well.
It's going really well so far. But it gets really difficult. I need to make a living.
Is acting really what I want to do?
He told me that acting is not a real job.
I haven't acted in over a year.
I thought, move on.
Look out the window.
Oh, this is bullshit. Anna, stop it. This is ridiculous. Anna, this is some game and I'm not going to play it, okay? Stop it. You're just acting. Oh, shit. There's only one I didn't hear from. That was Marita. She left school the day before her graduation. Why would she do that?
The one that got away. I'll tell a little secret about her.
By the time we became classmates at the academy, Marita was a different person.
No one's heard from her since 2012.
I just need to know that she's all right.
Remember a game of hide and seek? She's telling us something or lead us somewhere.
It's a great feel.
I saw her while I was up there. She was in the car, the gondola ahead of mine.
Kidding me? Are you kidding me?
You're definitely going to want to drink after you hear what I got to tell you about Miss Bright Eyes.
What was her style?
Catholic schoolgirl. Hot for teacher. You are a teacher, aren't you?
We all have our secrets, don't we?
She's just another working girl. Amsterdam's full of them.
They're gonna catch them, kill them, and bury them.
Maxie.
When I find you, I'm gonna make sure you don't run again.